we speak into this word mediocrity? Where does that come into what we've been saying? Is it a question of people just not wanting to like do things properly and they're just comfortable with the average?
Yeah,
It's
being comfortable with what's less than perfect, I guess.
So now, if you, as a young person now who you're a church worker, me as a pastor and an older person, now how do I now deal with that? If you're presenting something that is at a level that I think the standard is very low,
just communicating.
I'm trying to get you, but I'm talking and I'm saying, can we do it this way? And I see you repeating the same thing. You're not doing a good job.
It's patient.
I mean, you showed me. No, I do understand that. You showed me something recently that I said, wow, where is this coming from? Send it to me straight away. I love it. So you see, I just want things to be done properly. And to be honest with you, I can wait. I can be patient. But the only thing is this, if there's somebody else who can do it better, why don't you just give them room to do it?
Again, character. Some people is just like naturally they don't want to let go of certain things, but you have to.
Is that not a Gen Z thing?
No.
Are you sure?
Anybody?
People your age.
Are you sure?
Yes, there are people your age.
Even more so.
Let's
Really?
You know what? Let me talk about that. Yeah.
Okay,
So
but please.
there are people in the older generation that are holding positions in churches where other people can, but they don't want to let them go.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what you described.
I know ushers who don't want to retire.
And they
Not even
know.
that. Not even that. I have an apartment.
They've been head of usher for 40 years.
Why are you
They
not
don't
going to
want
stand down? There's new things that can be developed.
I know that.
They don't need to retire. They don't. But sometimes it's like if there is room for somebody else to do
and
better,
for change,
yeah.
and the church is going in a
Should
new
embrace
direction and things. There is room. Obviously, no one is making you stop serving. If it's a servitude to the Lord, no one's going to push you aside. But you can make room to give other people a chance to share new ideas, bring new things, be innovative. But they don't, and that's an older generation thing. They don't want to let go of things. So it's not just Gen Zs. I think sometimes with Gen Zs or millennials, we kind of get a stigma, like, we don't want to do things, or when we would do things, we don't want to do it the way they want to do it, or things like that. And I think it's not that. I feel sometimes I've been in a position where I can see how I can change this place, but there's pushback. The way I want to do it may be not the way other people feel like it's supposed to be done, and then we stay in one place, and then it's like, oh, forget it, I can't be bothered to be fighting you guys for something that I know is going to work, because you guys are stuck on, this is the way I want it to be, this is how it's going to be, how it's going to be. And I think there has to be room for flexibility. I think there's so much rigid behaviors sometimes that kind of allow younger generation to be like, I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy. And also sometimes you have to understand and pay attention. Sometimes people may have said certain things to test the waters, and the way you've responded, as if Toby is like, I know, like, here is not where I want to be. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I do understand that, and I take that into consideration the way I deal with young people. I'm just thinking to myself that why do we struggle, in getting people to do things, especially our older generation.
It's just a generation divide.
Which is why
it's the same reason why Sarah.
I love the word generation divide.
I will say something to you, and you're still my older sister.
Yeah.
I will say something to you, and it's like you won't even blink an eye because you know I'm not being rude.
No.
I'll say something to her dad. He's like, how can you say?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I have to explain. And wait. I have to now explain to dad and break it down that, oh, no. Like, apologies if it came across rude, but in my generation, like, even to people your age at work, like, I'm saying this because it's like, that's how it's understood now. Yeah. But because he will just compare to where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Constant comparison to where he's coming from. It's like, oh, but I wouldn't. So, for example, like, I might approach a pastor and say something that he wouldn't even say to that same pastor.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to stop me from doing that.
Yeah.
I believe that it's fine. If I'm not being rude and that pastor told me...
No, are you saying that is right though? That
No, but the caveat was...
Because you keep saying yeah.
No, but the caveat is if he's not told me...
I understand what you're saying.
If that pastor's not told me it's rude and he responds well to it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you keep saying whatever you want to say, but you call him daddy. I'll call him bro. Pause.
No, but I get what you see. This is what he's saying. That I get
Listen,
it.
that's what we're doing. Listen, that's what we're doing. Listen, guys. All right, chill out. That's how we're doing the podcast anyway. So bring it in. We're real here.
Yeah.
We're not micromanaging what we're doing here. We're real. So it's good for you guys to flow the way you're flowing.
There is so many times sometimes, like, I guess, like, where a young person will go to a pastor and ask a certain question or talk to them in a.
So what about the boundary
relationship.
for respect,
No,
guy?
but it's not.
No,
I don't
but
think.
you're putting
I
too much.
think-
No,
look,
there's respect.
educate me,
I
guys.
thought you guys think
calm down.
respect
There's
is something
respect in
different.
this culture.
Okay,
Yeah.
educate
You
me,
do too
guys.
much culture.
Yeah, there's culture.
Oh, boy.
That's what you
Culture
do.
comes in
Educate
play.
me, guys. So where does the place of where's the place of?
I'll give you an
respect?
example. I'll give you an example. I've gone to different churches
Yeah.
growing up, right? There's churches where there's a certain way I can talk to the pastor. It's completely fine. Same age as my dad, but
Yeah.
different ethnicity.
Yeah.
But in our culture, it's like, oh, you can't say that.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's just seen as you can't.
You
You
can't.
ask them why, you just can't.
You can't
It's
just
rude.
say that.
It's
You know, it's so beautiful that here we have three generation in a way. Myself, Sarah, and two. That's beautiful. That's what he wants, isn't it? He wants to be a Gen Z.
No, I don't.
He didn't want to
I'm
claim
not-
me.
I'm not millennial.
He
I'm
didn't
not
want to
Gen Z.
claim me.
Oh,
Yes,
what are you,
are.
sir?
I'm not Gen Z. I'm not millennial.
You
I'm the in between.
Or maybe he's the alpha.
in between.
So maybe he's the alpha. He's the alpha.
I'm creating a new whatever subtype. I'm called the in between. That sounds mad.
All right, guys. Let's. Okay. I want to say, how do we separate religion from culture, guys? Please, how do we do
By
that?
reading the Bible.
Help me.
Culture's not in the Bible. It's actually not.
But do you know the Bible also speaks about respect? And I think somebody just said something.
But why-
Somebody just said something about the fact that. No, wait. Somebody said something about the fact that if you lose your culture, you lose your value.
But that's a separate thing, though.
I'm coming. No. Wait. Just easy, son. I said, if you lose your culture, you lose your value. That is to say, whether you like it or not, interchangeably, these things in a way work together. I am who I am. Somebody was telling me that in Nigeria, there's some certain churches, they will not allow their members to wear certain clothes
Yeah.
to preach. The same church will allow people to do it in UK. Now, I'll tell you why. Because in UK, it is cold.
Coach. Yeah.
You can go with skirt all the time out there. You might catch cold. So because of that, you're allowed to wear certain things. Whereas the same church in Nigeria says you cannot wear that.
Yeah, but
I don't-
Wait, let me
that's not
finish.
right.
Let me. No, it's not even about what is right or what is right. It's about what is happening. You know, something might be
Yeah.
happening and it might not be right. So it's not about what is right. It's about what is happening. Now I'm saying to myself, culture in Nigeria, right? When we go to Liberty, you know what they say you guys should
Yeah.
wear? Your long skirt.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
allow your
Yeah,
whatever
they
to
do,
show. Right. Is that not culture, guys? Please help me.
I think it's.
No, is that not culture?
I don't think it's culture. I think it's customs.
It's beliefs
and
and
beliefs.
customs.
So, for example,
Custom,
there's a-
custom and culture.
They're not
no,
the same.
It's different.
what I
Not the
mean
same.
by that is,
Let's
there's
educate you today, boss.
there's
Custom and culture.
what I'm saying is that how
That is a
when
cul-
we're in Liberty and they're asking us to wear long gowns, it's because of how people will perceive us if we're wearing certain things, and for us to be more. For people to receive us more in a positive
Because
light.
you operate in a particular culture.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes, but that has nothing to do with religion, though.
No, but we go there to do a religious
No, but it has-
service.
I know,
no,
Can
but
I
it
just
has-
okay?
Serving
Can I explain that to
religiously-
you? Can I explain?
Yeah.
Hang on, guys. Can I explain that?
Pastor.
That the reason why they do that, Sarah, is this. What they say because you know you are Christians. And because
Some
you are
Christians wouldn't do the same thing.
can I finish? That's the reason why they say you should do that. That's what I'm saying, Sarah. You're a libertarian. The reason why they say we should do that in Nigeria is because
Libertarian,
they say they want you to be looked upon as a Christian.
Yeah.
And as a Christian, they believe there's certain value that you must demonstrate or bring to the table.
Yeah.
Now hang on, wait. So they're saying to you that in this culture, you know what Paul said? Paul said, when I'm in Rome, I behave like the Romans.
Yeah.
It is culture
Yeah, it's
and
culture.
religion. Guys,
Yeah.
please, why
Okay.
is this a
But
problem?
what I'm saying, but that has nothing.
Why
but-
is this a problem?
Oh,
I think
that
it's
has
about
nothing-
generation now.
No.
Because I'm older than you guys.
Can I ask you a
My
question?
brain is
That has nothing to
sharper.
do with-
My brain is smarter
That
than
has
you
nothing
guys.
to do with
I'm
me
older
going
than
to
you
my
guys.
pastor. That's nothing to do with
Wait,
me
wait,
going
wait.
to
My
my
brain is sharper,
pastor.
No, I'll give you this.
That's nothing to do with me going to my pastor and asking him a certain question.
No, but you know what?
based on what you may not ask him.
I get
because,
you.
for example, there's things that me and you can discuss, and I will come and discuss it with you
Yeah.
in a way. We will, obviously, I respect you to the, but there's sometimes where I'll be like, uncle, no.
It's not making sense.
I'm not.
I agree.
I'm not disrespecting
I agree with you guys.
But there's a
They're saying, how can they be talking to us like this?
There's something that I say I can be myself with you, and I'm going to ask you.
I agree.
But if I came to you with,
That's one thing I don't subscribe to. I don't subscribe to the idea of us demanding for respect from young people. or from people here.
You saying that for the camera or you saying
no,
that
no,
for us?
no. I'll tell you why. If you just tell me to explain myself.
Explain yourself,
Let
Pastor.
me tell you one thing. I believe. No, wait. I believe where we come from. I told you about culture and religion now. Where we come from, there's certain things that I will not even pick up on if my children behave in certain way among our circle, but people will pick up on it and they will think, you didn't train your children well, you know. Nah, you didn't train your children well. So there's some things that I will frown at because I'll say to you that, no, don't say that. That's why when you say some things at home, even though I would say, son, why are you talking like that? And it's when we have an argument. I say, why are you talking like that? If we're not having an argument, be honest with yourself. Forget about the camera.
Yeah.
You say things I will say, I will laugh. And you come to me, you've been doing it from when you were a young person or a child, do a lot of things, that. And it's all free with me. But one thing is, I believe in boundary though, because of the fact that I don't want a situation whereby we go out and make a public spectacle
my
of
mum
ourselves.
said also,
And that's all I say. It's not because of the fact that I want to be hard on you guys. No, I just want to also make a public spectacle because I may understand it. The other party may look at you as an unruly child. He's not well trained. You know the way he just spoke to his dad. And even the father gone said, look at the way he's even behaved. He said in their house they're just like that. And I don't want that to be. And that's why sometimes I would say, easy place. But you know what, we're talking about demand. And I'm saying it again, look, there's no need for me to be asking you to respect. People respect me without asking them if they want to. And I'll be honest with you, I have enough of that from people that are around me for me to say, come, won't you respect me? No, you have to do that. Yeah. You see, there's a young person that I was speaking to, and I was saying to this person, I said, for all your behaving, I'll still tell you I love you, I like you. I'll still do whatever I want to do because I'm thinking one day you come around to understand what I'm saying. So if you say demand for respect, I don't think it's every one of us that is demanding for respect, but it's just that our culture, not us, it is our culture that is demanding for respect. Screaming for respect. Hang on, screaming for respect. Now, as much as we try to manage it, we still need to understand. I grew up hearing about boundary. In actual fact, when I got to this country, it was when I hear it more. Boundary is louder in UK than in Nigeria. You'll be shocked. No, the word boundary. Maybe they use another word for it in Nigeria. But yeah, boundary is very, very, very loud. They say it a lot. So all I'm saying is, can we just, within the framework of us having a relationship, still keep the boundary there? Maybe that's what we're asking for. Yeah. But don't forget that what I'm trying to actually talk about is the fact that the mix of religion and culture. Please, I want to speak
that's
to
actually
culture and
interesting
religion.
because I was actually going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, not just, obviously I'm not Gen Z, I'm not millennial, but where I am, and then also millennials, and then also Gen Z, we come from a place where it's like, we do think respect should be earned. And you know what's funny, yeah? I think it's a case by case basis because he's my dad. So whether my idea is whether he's doing the right thing or not, because he's my dad and I was raised right, I'll respect him anyway. But it's like, if you now continue to exhibit behavior that I don't agree with, that's not subjective, objectively wrong, that respect can diminish. And it's obviously you're thinking, but I'm your dad, but it's like, you can't respect somebody who refuses to change, who doesn't listen, who's not doing what they preach. It's hard to respect someone like that. And I think that's the issue with your generation and then maybe the younger generation.
Well, for the camera, is that me he's talking about or who is he talking about?
No, you.
No,
you're 60. I don't know what generation that is. What's before millennial?
I think it's X, Gen X or something like that.
You see, baby boomers, it's like they may not understand that concept because they come from a place where it's like they're growing up, their fathers and mothers, even if they say you're the most useless child, you're this and that, it's
they
like,
say,
I have to respect. Yes. We're not from that.
Yeah.
It's like, and if we even take it back to the Bible, it's honor your father and mother, right?
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
And that's like the baseline. It's like which is why there's also grace. It's like even if I always say to my friends, it's like even if your parents are like doing what you don't like, naturally because of the Bible, it's like you need to honor them and respect them anyway. But that's where so what I would say with my dad, is that I'm less likely to just be outlandish and disrespectful. It's like I would say I don't agree.
Yeah.
But the issue is with dad is that he won't now say why don't you agree. He'll say you're rude. Arrogance. Anything they don't like. Arrogance.
Yeah.
Straight away. They won't ask you why you're exhibiting that behavior.
Yeah.
They won't ask you why you don't agree. They won't ask you why you're talking how you're talking. They won't ask you, they'll just say, oh, you need to change. And the thing is, there's always an element of truth in what they're saying, but it's hard for it to penetrate because they're not listening.
Yeah.
And they think they're listening.
You know, maybe it's nice to say that, okay, maybe there are times when I know myself, I deserve the tell-off. I know myself, I behave in a very funny way. Because there's been event, you know, that's happened in the past that, you know, somebody has responded in a way that even a third party that was there basically even told this person off and say, you shouldn't talk to your dad like that. I didn't even say it, but a third party said it. The third party who said it was not even a Nigerian. So I'm saying that we need to be very careful. You see, you can see other people's, fault. If you don't take time to do a reflection, you won't see yours. So I'm thinking for our young people, they need to also understand us, that we're not just mad and we just want to be crazy. Maybe there are fathers out there who want to be like that. But when you look at your relationship with your parent from when you were young, then estimate it based on what is going on now, then you'll be able to define who they are. And so really, if you're saying to me that, oh, I'll see you arrogant, I would say, there must be something that triggers that. So I think, shouldn't we address it? Because you guys can come on us, the older folks, the, what do
Baby
you call
bloomers.
us now? Bloomers.
Baby.
Bloomers. You can come on us and just, you know, bring all this. But I'm not saying that, shouldn't you guys also reflect and maybe bring it to the table and say,
No.
okay, we ourselves could sometimes
But did I not say that?
overbearing. No, hang on.
said that, you know.
You see, I say, maybe we need to do that sometimes so we can do a balance. Because there are things you guys have said here today and I've said I understand and I agree. Okay? Because I know if I don't agree, then there will be no change. And while we're doing this podcast, we want somebody to listen to it and to also go and adjust their behavior, especially in relationship to people who are younger than them. But if you guys are not coming out with the truth and you're not objective, then somebody's going to shut that podcast off. Rubbish or this,
I mean,
you know.
Uncle, I've agreed with certain elements of what you've said, but I think what I'm trying to get across, and I think my brother's trying to get across, is there's a lot of things where obviously respect is there, and I think we do respect. Well, I can talk for our environment. We do respect our elders, but there is, I think, what we have is relationship.
Exactly.
So for me, a lot of my relationships, we have relationships. So I'm myself with you. So I'm not pretentious with you. So at the end of the day, if I want to say, Uncle, I don't really like that, I'm going to say it in
You've
that
done
way.
that already
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, and I'll do it again.
And I explain
then
explain
you
myself.
defend yourself.
Exactly.
But that is part
And we
of
finish on a
relationship.
cordial-
Yeah, exactly.
No, didn't we?
And we'll
We
laugh
finish on a
and we'll joke.
exactly.
Yeah, but that's because of relationship.
Exactly.
But if I have now said to you, oh, I don't really like that, and we don't have that relationship, you may
Thinking,
think I'm disrespecting you. You understand?
But you didn't come across as, you see, you said to me, I didn't like some things you did. But you were not arrogant about it. Okay? You said in such a way that I was able to explain myself. And I said, no, Sarah, it's not what you think. This way it is. And you kept saying, no, I don't really like it. I said, calm down, let me explain myself. And I took time to kind of like, you know, educate you. And you then said, okay, all right, I see where you're coming from. Maybe the problem is there's a lot of misunderstanding between my generation and you guys' generation. And also maybe, as much as you don't want us to say there's arrogance as what is, I think the younger generation seems to think that they know more
it
than
all.
us and that we don't know. And they come across like that, like, what are you going to say? All right, let's hear your point. Okay, all right.
But I
I'll
think-
follow you. I think there's a need for even the young
But I think
generation, because,
there's-
like I said, because we're doing this for everybody to, benefit.
But
I
there's
think there's a
also-
need for
there's
people
this-
to also express themselves and say, okay, maybe sometimes we also could be a bit overbearing.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes our response is also on reflection. We also know it's not
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I think it's good. It will draw a balance.
But there's work to be done
Because I
on
agree
both
that
sides,
older
though.
people. I agree. I
Because-
agree that my age group, like you guys are saying, sometimes even me, I see the way some people behave to younger people, and I don't like it. I think one of the reasons why I get along with a lot of young people is because of the fact that I understand that you can't just be throwing the hammer on their head all the time. I hear parents, our friends, we sat at, we were on a holiday and we're sitting down talking. And I can promise you guys that a quarter of the parents that were sitting with us, our friends, said they're not friends with their children. And we were like, why? They said, no, they'll be rude to me. I'm their daddy or I'm their mommy. How can he be talking to me? How can my son come in and just slap me and say, hey, dad? Or how can my son tell me, like, what are you saying? And they were saying they're not friends. And my very good close friends.
But there's
And I'm saying to
but there's a
let me finish.
disclaimer.
Let me finish. I'm coming. And I'm saying to myself, okay, thank God for your life, man. So if some of us are trying to create a relationship that you talk about, because I'm more about relationship than you forcing out to respect. But if we're trying to foster the relationship, okay, and the young people are not reciprocating. I've seen young people honestly speaking, who are respect to the last point. Okay, you may say maybe behind their mind they've got something else, but I see the way they demonstrate it. Why does some young people find it difficult demonstrating the same thing? Forget about the fact that we're talking about even
You'd be surprised.
older or young.
People that don't demonstrate are the more real ones.
Maybe.
Nah, sometimes.
But is it not necessary for us to speak to the young people out there and let them know
I think there should be
there's a need for reflection
there should
on
be that
behavior?
natural boundary. There should be, because the thing is, even with that whole friends thing and your children's, what you described just now, first of all, you had to cultivate that relationship. So for it to even get to where you can be friends with your child, the boundary and respect was built to the point where it's like it won't be overstepped. So it's like when they do that, what you saying there, but it's not rude. You understand? Because, and at the end of the day, it's like push comes to shove. No, he's still my dad. It's like can't do this, can't do that. You
things
understand?
you won't do, yeah.
So it's like the relationship had to be cultivated that way, and that would have taken years. Because the thing is, even for our relationship to get to something like that, I wasn't brought up like that. Like the way I was brought up, you get me?
You can tell. It's not-
Only to tell the UK before they take my dad. But I was brought up like that.
but
Cut.
But it's
Using
made you who you to be fair. Like I feel like there is a time where you have to
that.
Yeah, there's a time where you can't be your children's friend.
Exactly.
And there's a time where you have to be your children's friend.
Exactly.
There
That's
is
perfect.
very different times where you can't be your child's friend, and there's a time where you have to be
So
your
is there a
child's friend.
fault now? Hang on, sir. Thank you for saying that. Is there a fault now when, because you're saying perfect, is there a fault now when a parent decides to be friend to their kids right from when they're young?
Oh, absolutely.
Or you talk, Ankam, is there a problem?
From young. Absolutely.
You
Because
can't.
the boundary hasn't been created
Yeah,
yet.
the boundary.
They don't even
they're
understand
gonna
respect.
disrespect you.
They're going to.
Maybe what you guys are talking about now is this, because you know what? I think, okay, thank God my son is here. I think I discipline, like he said, he doesn't want them to pick me. I discipline myself.
What's that child protection
But
line
the thing-
anyway?
Yeah, I know. Well, Ade will call you.
I don't know.
I don't give you the number. You can
Adult
see
protection.
I know he will be on your side. I know.
You know what? What I try to do is I love my children.
Yeah,
because
of course.
because of that, I try to create a sort of a relationship with them. It's a dream in my head about me and my kids anyway. But I still try to let them know that there is a set boundary. I think the people who are talking, what they're saying is, I won't even give the room that you are giving to your children to my children.
And look at their relationship with their kids.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't give. Not like I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm only just bringing that to the table for us to use it as a sort of an ingredient for our discussion. So there are people who are saying that I won't even be friend at all. So the idea is, go carry, go guru. Are we going somewhere? Even when we're on holiday, we're still strict. You get what I'm saying? For us, it's easy, relax. Everybody enjoy themselves. You get what I'm saying? I'm only saying that children out there, I mean, if you're out there and you have that kind of this kind of parent, you need to learn to respect them. You need to learn to just understand the fact that they love you enough to create a room for you to access them with liberty.
But you know,
And with that liberty that they give you now, I don't think you should now abuse the liberty.
but-
Whether at a younger age, whether at an older
but you
age.
know, children that are breeded in that kind of environment is forced respect. It's not actually true
Which one?
respect.
Which?
The one where they don't have relationship with their children, they have the authority. There's
Oh
two-
yeah, it's
there's-
fair actually,
yeah,
not
it's
respect.
fair, yeah, it's not
respect.
fair.
It's fair, it's
so
not respect,
even
it's
and
fair.
any chance that they get that, they're gonna come
gonna
out of it.
disrespect them.
Yeah, it's fair, it's not respect.
Whereas the ones where we have cultivated, you've created the boundary, you've cultivated it. It is respect. So it doesn't necessarily mean I can say to my dad, "Oh, what you doing?" And he knows I'm not disrespecting him. He knows that he's just. And also, there's a time where you have to get to a point with your children where you got to say they are adults now. You're raising adults. They have their mind. They've got their
right.
career. They have their experiences,
yes.
and you've got to kind of respect that.
Yes.
Not to say that they have to disrespect you, but you have to respect that. This person has their own mind, has their own experiences now. You are an influence to them, but you can't tell them at this current moment what to do. But because they respect you, they will hear you. They will come to you. They will ask you for advice because they know my dad is sound. My dad will come and give me respect, and I respect what my dad will say to me. So it's the way you've cultivated that relationship. For example, like I could go to my dad and say, "Oh, da 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 da," and he would just be like, "Okay." Like he doesn't take me rudely because he knows that I'm not a rude person. If I'm coming to him and saying something, he knows that maybe she's angry, maybe she's this. It's about knowing your child as well, knowing the language they use, knowing, yes, I agree with you. There's times where they may tell me off because of outside. So you say, if you go outside and you say this, they will not. My mom used to always say, if you go and do this in your in-laws' house, they may not take it funny the way I take it. And I have to kind of evaluate when I was younger, like, okay, maybe this may not be a character that I want to always absorb in the home, and it's something that, okay, this is where I can probably talk like this with my mum, but not everyone outside will understand this. Yeah. So it's actually knowing your environment as well as a young person, and knowing who can I speak to like this, that they will not do this. It's like at work. There's certain people you're not going to talk to in that way. You'll turn your tone a bit. Some people, they have a work voice and they have a home voice. Reason being is the environment that they're in. So sometimes we have to, as much as I'm gunning for young people and the respect and stuff like that, there are some things where we do need to accustom and say, okay, let's acclimatize. This is the environment that I'm in now. How do I approach this? This is the environment that I'm in now. How would I approach this? So if we're bringing it back to church, there's certain environments in church that the way we respond and the way we have certain conversations can be better. However, you can communicate yourself effectively without being disrespectful, okay. But it depends on who's receiving it, because sometimes I can be talking to somebody and they think I'm being disrespectful just because on the mere fact that I'm challenging them.
Yes,
it's not always the case.
Yeah.
If I'm saying, but why are you doing that? I don't understand why you're doing that. It doesn't mean I'm disrespecting you. It means I want to know further why you're doing that and understand why you're doing that. So I know if it aligns with my views and values.
I agree with you, Sarah. Everything you said, I agree. Well, I think it depends on how you come across, to be honest with you. See, don't let's mix this in up, because as much as possible, we want to be objective on this podcast. And like I said, whatever we're doing, we're speaking into the heart of both the young and the old. And if we concentrate too much on some generation and leave the other one, we're not going to be, we'll be able to benefit one generation, but not the other one. Yeah. So I think it's good we speak through to power, if you know what I'm saying now. Now, what I'm saying is, when you go to speak to people in church, I'm not going to mention them, but I've got two people in my church. They come to me to present the same thing. Okay? When one presents his own, it's easy for me and him to hold the conversation easily and resolve it. If I speak to the other person, their response, we can't even hold or else I know the person will start saying things. So I'll just say, okay, I've heard you. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why are you doing that? Whereas there's somebody else who I'll hold similar conversation with, honestly speaking, and they will tell me, oh, uncle, can I say this to you? Or pastor, can I say this to you?
That's a character flaw.
And I'll say, okay, go and say it. And they'll say it. Somebody called me the other day and said, oh, a particular thing we had in church, that he needs to tell me the truth. He needs to tell me the truth. And I said, what's the truth? Say, the way this thing was presented, the way he was looking at it, and I said, you know what, you've got a valid point, man. And I think I need to look into that. Whereas somebody will go, maybe send me a message and go, all these things that this thing are doing is just complete, and I'm not even a part of it. I don't want to know about it. I want to come there. I don't want to do it. You see, and I'm thinking to myself, exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, what is now? If you want to play this out now in terms of what we're talking about, older, younger. So what do I do?
That's not age dependent, though.
What do I do?
That's because that's a character flaw. That's not age dependent.
But I'm saying that more. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but because of the podcast, for the purpose of the podcast, why do we have that among some young folks? That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm trying to
say,
why
can't some young folks just do things, with yourself?
But again, it's just.
And hang on, and I've seen. Sorry, son. And I've seen these people. Behave even to their own biological father. I mean, no disrespect to anyone. In a way that I even say to myself, why are you behaving like that?
Yeah, so you just outlined it for yourself, though.
Yeah, but
because it's a character flaw. No, because it's like, at the end of the day.
So are you saying there's some people whose problem is actually character flaws, and they're young people?
It comes down to them.
Okay, so can we then show some understanding that also we, the baby bloomers or boomers, also sometimes it's not us. it's
Yeah, it could be them.
yeah, because I wanted to address
but
that. So sometimes it's
I
not
said
us. It's been like it's us.
Literally said
No,
no.
not at all. We're just responding to
We're just
what you are saying and giving your perspective from our.
Because you got to break it down.
Yeah,
So-
for our perspective, definitely not. There is nothing. There's every generation that has its flaws and that needs to be addressed for us to bridge that gap. That's why we're here.
Exactly. I
There's
like
nothing
that.
new under
Every
the sun.
generation that
Like,
needs
Yeah.
to be addressed.
what the Gen Z are doing, baby boomers have been doing that.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I think what it is there's, I think it's a bit of a different conversation because there's the whole like, as a whole generation, why is it sometimes that maybe we might find it difficult to understand you might find it difficult to understand us, and that's the whole generation divide. So that's where like cultures are different, brought up differently, different beliefs and customs.
Yeah.
Then you've got like people that just have character flaws that whether they're 20, 15, 50, 80 years old, that's just a character flaw that
Can I
exudes.
put a thing? And also,
Please.
can I just say
I'm trying to
something?
hold my thoughts.
There's some character flaws that come from people that have special learning difficult needs.
Special needs,
So you can have some autistic people that may have conversations with you, and you're like, what you? And
That's a
you
fact.
and you may be triggered and think they're disrespectful, but it's their learning need. You can have people that have ADHD that cannot focus on one task all the
So
time,
my-
and that has gone out. Undiagnosed, and people don't really know. A lot of
I agree with that
these
1 million% like
adults
that.
now are getting diagnosed for different
1
things.
million%
So
like
I'm putting that in the spanner because of the fact that how we need to address how people, different people respond to certain things just based on those premises, and some of, I guess, different generations, I don't want to just put it as baby boomers, they may not understand that individual is not committing to serving because they have ADHD. They may not even know that themselves, and that is a big thing for some people.
I agree with that.
You're
not
right.
talked about.
But you know,
Yeah, it's not talked about.
You know what? I agree. No. I think people are beginning to show some awareness.
Yeah,
in that
definitely,
area.
definitely.
People are showing awareness in that area.
Yeah.
People are believing to look. I mean, I've got people. I keep giving examples that
Mm-hmm.
I believe I've looked at them and I think there's a lot going on in their minds. So
Mm-hmm.
just leave them. Just leave them and just let them be who they are for now. Like I said, somebody who I said there's space in which
Mm-hmm.
they are at the moment. It's just not to do anything. Just leave them. I understand that. But I'm saying, should we validate some behaviors that
No, that's
No.
not what we're
no,
saying.
I'm only asking. I'm
No.
just asking a question. It's a discussion we're
But just
having.
being aware of why
Should
some
we-
people
should
have
we validate?
tendencies to like display certain behavior, because it's like if you can acknowledge that they might be a bit neurodivergent, or
the word.
you understand,
Well,
then you it's not like you're enabling them,
Right, okay.
but when you now approach them,
What-
you can understand that where somebody isn't, it's
Yeah.
like fine.
Well,
If that person's now rude, it's like, oh, come on. Where this person might be a bit more brash, it's like, okay, but they have this, so I can understand. I can make it a point to them, but I
Yeah.
need to be very careful because
how do we differentiate then somebody who would think has got an underlying
I think-
problem and somebody who's just got character flaw? Because we're talking of two now.
Yeah.
Somebody with an
I
underlying.
mean, there's
issue,
there's
somebody
difficulty
with-
in that.
That's
because-
just good.
And so
But this is why I believe that churches should go through certain trainings. Neurodiversity training is out and there, that you can identify these kind of things and you know how to work with people like that. I think there's room to develop in churches to be aware of so many different things, because in your workplaces we're having e-learning on neurodiversity, because we know that a lot of people at the current moment are being diagnosed rapidly, and I think it's really important as a church, if you want to grow and you want to see how we're responding to different people, who has a character flaw, who doesn't just want to do it, who is not having their relationship. I know it's a lot, but there is a lot of factors that you
Yeah,
have
man,
to take
it's
in place.
bridging the gap ain't gonna be easy, boy.
Yeah, we cannot.
It's not.
Yeah, we cannot just gloss over those kind of things. I'm not giving people a pass. There are some people that just have attitude problems, and we just continue to pray for them, and we continue to be patient and speak in love to them. One day maybe that may change, and some days it may not change. And I think there's some people that it's their relationship with God, and we need to just continue to teach and stuff like that. And there's some people, they will get the revelation and the encounter and they run with it. There's just different
Everyone's
people,
different.
and although this podcast is like bridging the gap and it's different generations, so yes, we're specifying on Gen Zs and millennials. However, it can go across the board in church. So I just want to get that out there, that we're not solely focusing on them. It can be everybody, but it's just for the purpose of this podcast at this current moment. But there are just so many different factors and that come to play. Like there's 9 times out of 10 that there's some people that just have character issues, and you have to just kind of be like, what's wrong with you? I've been in church and I'm like,
You know, 2 things are in my head as you're speaking, Sarah. And the first one is the spiral effect of some people's behavior and also the effectiveness of running a church. I'm trying to now say to myself, as a leader of a church, how do I play this? I love the fact that you young guys are talking about this, because I'm also trying to take some learning. Now, spiral effect, somebody's misbehaving funny, and then somebody's thinking, he's always behaving anyhow to you anyway, and there's nothing's been done, so I can also do the same thing. You know, he comes too late every time, doesn't do what he's supposed to do. Nobody says anything. And same thing. How do we then merge that with us having an effective church? What do we do?
Like what she said is about having like relevant training, by bringing it up, by addressing the issue. Because the thing is, in church, like you tend.
Who's going to own up that they've got underlying issue though?
No, you don't.
Who are you
No,
going
but
to-
Not in that regard.
Not in that regard.
But
It's
like in
having-
your workers' meeting, it's important to have outlined these things and be consistent in outlining it and bringing scripture into to play. Your workers' meetings is like the greatest
which
time
is
to
what
do
we-
that.
which
Even
we'll
your
do that,
sermons,
yeah.
you may have to address that as a whole, because the whole church will be there at that time. Sometimes you've just got to have the uncomfortable
there's
conversation.
there's some things that you actually inject into sermon and people will switch off.
I know, or they'll say
You know
you're
that yourself.
trying to at me.
They will switch off. You know it yourself. You've been an active member of a church that,
Yeah.
I know I speak to your pastor there about some things, and I know the kind of barrier
Yeah.
faced even from members of the church.
Yeah.
And so, do you know, people, when you say certain things, they just develop yourself a defense mechanism against your word. And so, so if you're saying,
But they're not ready then.
Yeah, and there's a way to
so
do.
what do we then do? That's what I'm saying.
No, but then-
So there's some people there who are, like what I've just said now. So how do we then mitigate that? How do we kind of like, try
But
to
there's
work
not
around?
there's not one way to do it. That's the issue. Because
But don't forget that you also need to think about the effectiveness of running the church.
I know,
That is still
but
there.
part of
I don't want to lose-
thinking about the effectiveness of running the church is understanding there's not one shoe that fits all. Like it has to, your approach has to be so. You have to be so holistic, and like you have to literally adapt until you can now get through to that person. Because it's like it can take you maybe a year before you understand how somebody can actually respond.
When you address it, I want to just bear in mind, like I said, and I'll keep saying that, effectiveness of running the church. I don't want to lose members. I want the church to run very well. Okay? So the question is, what do I do? And what are those things that you think you identify that could be a major problem that I need to look out for? Maybe the red signals.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's various things that, as a church is every day, it's out of the building, but if we're putting in the context of the Sunday, church is Sunday for some people. People may have substance misuse issues, and that can be playing out in how they respond to church and how the things that they do in church. And I also think what has been coming to me in this thing, and I think it's quite simple. It seems quite simple, but it's not simple, is even with God and us and our character flaws, he's patient.
Exactly.
It can take years for us to get that revelation or to cut off certain things about our life. It can take us years. The humanness in us always wants people to just get with the program. Fast. But it can take years.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Where I am now took years. And so sometimes when people are saying, oh, how do you do that? I was like, you're reading page 1,000 in my book. So sometimes, and I know it's hard because you're trying to effectively, when you're trying to run a church, it is hard because you need things to fall in line. You need to pro-social model good things in your church. You need to make impact. But there are certain people, I guess with everything, there's certain things that it cannot be built in that 1 day or 2 days or whatever. There's a patience that has to happen when we're building churches. Not to say that we will encourage bad behavior, not to encourage that we'll let slide things that are untoward. So it is very simple. You can say things like, you can actually go to someone and say, at this current moment, I don't think that you're ready to serve. I'm okay with you wanting to like maybe volunteer or do certain things, but for serving, this is how somebody serves, or this is how the expectation of serving. It's easy for, even in job roles, there's an expectation there's a job requirement. And yes, it's the kingdom of God. But you can sit with somebody, whether they're insulted or not, you can. There is, if my pastor came to me and said, Sarah, I don't think you're thing, I may be offended, but I may say, I will ask why. And if they sit with it long enough, if I'm always coming late for ushering, you're an usher. You're the person that's supposed to see me. You're supposed to be on time. It doesn't make sense. Can you sit down for a bit? Maybe shadow this usher, see the behavior that they're modeling. And then maybe if you're ready, you can come back. But there are different approaches for different people.
Well, I like the fact that you're doing this, because as we're, about to close the podcast, I think maybe from what you guys have been saying, one thing I deduce from that is the fact that maybe there's a need when you identify somebody with a problem, just take them out of, I believe if you have a bunch of apple and there's a spoiled one there, you could spoil the rest, but if you take that one out, you can save the rest. So maybe what you need to just separate them and begin a special training or teaching one-on-one with them, maybe discipleship, maybe counseling. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So with that, you can then get them back online, then return them back, restore them back to where they were functioning before. So maybe, all right, okay, so maybe what we're trying to say here, guys, is we've been having this discussion since now, talking about, the difference and the disparity between the old and the young generation when it comes to serving in the church. And I think some good point that's actually pulled out from this discussion today is the fact that maybe there's a need to identify why some people are behaving in certain ways. And that when you identify, then find a way to work around this problem with them, and then you restore them back. But maybe for them, in the meantime, you may actually tell them to take a breather from what they are doing. And I think maybe what I take away again from this is the fact that don't use the same brush, to paint everybody. There will always be a need for you to look at people from different angles and look at them as individuals, not as a group of people. And that will help us to be able to serve the Lord very well. As much as the effectiveness of running of the church is very important, the soul of everybody who's in the church is also important. Somebody mentioned the fact that even Jesus Christ and God himself is very patient with us. We need to learn to be patient with other people. As much as when we want to be patient with them, we still don't want the work of God to suffer, because God himself will not allow his work to suffer. And everyone who is on headship position or who has an headship position is accountable to God and accountable to the Holy Spirit. But it's just about us trying to know the right and the wrong and creating a framework with which we can work with people that we think they're not pulling their weight enough. We can't throw the baby away with the bath and the water that we use to bath them. We need to separate the two. So thank you very much for everybody who has joined us this evening. Tobiloba, thank you very much for joining. I know you're going to be here again.
The full
name. Didn't even ask me what name I want to go by.
Dr. Edward, thank you very much.
And he's even worse. Even worse. That actually has to get cut out. That one has to get cut out.
Thank you, well, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, the two of you, for joining, Sarah. Thank you so much. God bless you.
No worries.
You know what? I appreciate you guys. For spending time to listen to our rambling. What we've done is just ramble. We're not saying that we're expert in this. We've just come to sit down, relax, and then have a nice time. Next time we do this, it's going to be a more informal kind of setting. More than this, we're going to be able to jump around a lot. I'm sure we can.
With popcorn.
We can jump around. Can we?
You see,
we can excitedly stand up and say,
can you pull this down, please? Yeah, please.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Free popcorn. Where's the
no popcorn?
Oh, look at that!
No popcorn.
I'm starving. I promise you, I'm starving.
You brought us out here, no food, no drink.
Yeah, so thanks for tuning in. If you did, just to let you know, obviously it is bridging the gap between different generations, but there will be times where it's just people in my generation. I'm obviously I'm not Gen Z. I'm not millennial. I'm somewhere in between. You get what I'm saying?
Is that the lost generation or what?
But you see this? People interrupting me once I'm trying to sign out. But it's calm because I've learned patience. So there'll be times where it's only baby boomers There's times where it's only millennials, times where it's only my guys, and there's a mix. But
Gen
we're trying to make this as fun, as relaxed
That's
as possible.
right,
So yeah,
that's
thanks
right,
for tuning in, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, please stay tuned. There's going to be times where there'll be millennials, the best generation, in the building having conversations, and there's just going to be different points of views that I think you guys will be interested in hearing. So stay tuned and like, subscribe and comment.
And the last thing I want to say, please, before we go is this. Please, guys, I want you to understand that every opinion here are individual opinions.
Yes.
Please,
Yeah.
that's very...
Represent anybody.
Yeah,
Don't
please.
represent
That's
all.
and also, please, and also, can I just say that we're very free and we're just talking because we believe we're free. So nobody's being gagged to say anything. So please, guys, what we're saying is just the way we feel.
Yeah.
Listen,
So
we
guys,
don't
just
judge, guys.
understand that.
Yes,
But
listen,
guys, thank you
don't
and see you
judge.
next time. God bless you. We're
All
out.
right.
Thank you.
Bye.